Hello YouTube viewers, welcome to my channel Science to Technology. In today's show, Computer Wednesday, we're going to talk about Nvidia's valuation. Is it hope or is it hype? So let's dive deep into it. So what Nvidia is? Nvidia is a very young MNC from a multinational corporation point of view. This puppy is quite young. It's not 100 years old. It's not 400 years old. It's surprisingly young. It started in the same age as me. 5 April 1993. So surprisingly young. Now Nvidia went public. Be mindful, generally there is a trend like you may start a company and you like get stuff done. Once you have a good flow, everything going, then you open it to stock. They opened this puppy up in 1999, this individual, and that time they were selling stocks for $12. Now to give you context of that money, that would be translated to only $23 in today's money. Inflation has been bad, but not extreme bad. So that's why I'm saying it's very young. And Jason Huan is the CEO. Now this is the primary reason why Nvidia is successful. If you look into any other competitor or company of this age, 30 years old, generally they go through CEO like it's just a post, like, you know, oh, we just hire this one, or then we replace a new one, then we put it. No, because be mindful, when you have a Mark 1 CEO, Mark 1 CEO simply means anybody who was there, who laid the foundation of it, they generally have the vision to see further. Now the same thing happened with Google also. Google, literally the original people who made Google, they were really far thinking ahead. That's why they made Google. That's why they became successful. But yes, once the stock people started to get into it and board of directors became dumb, they were like, we want the number go up. 5 minutes, number did not go up. It's like, bro, just because you plant a tree right now does not mean you get fruit 5 seconds from now. You have to wait for years. Like if you look into Google's data sheet, Google's portfolio, they have built the foundation of AI hype that's happening right now long ago. They built it, they just never monetized it, because every time they had something like this, it's like, this will become the next big thing. Companies like, oh, it's taking too long, let's just accept everything. Every single, everybody is talking about like, oh, what if we could have AI in video games? You know who could have done that? They could have done that with Stadia. Google could have done that with Stadia because they were running it on supercomputers, directly, easily integratable, if they just had the patience for it. Self-driving, everybody's like, dude, it's the next big thing. They had it, they cancelled it. Now that's why Jason Huang, the fact that he was there and either board of director has a good faith in him or he had created the circumstance. You can do that. Like if you're building a company, there are some ways. It has some compromises, but you can build a company in such a way that you cannot be kicked out. So again, if every company is like, okay, you build the company and lol, of course people will stop building it. So there are some pros and cons to that design, but he stayed on the top and benefited. He actually managed to go through all the ups and downs without any issue. Be mindful, 1999, that 2008 dot-com crash, all of those things happened, and he was like, I got this. So that's the primary reason why Nvidia is so successful. One guy, one focus, long term. This is basically mutual fund growth. It's just a long-term growth. Like we are doing this, yes, slow. Okay, not every year was like awesome, money number go up. There have been some bad times, but then like, okay, we got this. The momentum paid off. That's the primary reason why this company is so successful for such a young company. Now, what do they sell? What is their intellectual property? Well, they have two puppies. One is a huge software stack. Be mindful, there are many companies that make hardware. Like you must have heard of Arduino, you must have heard of ESP32, you must have heard of Texas Instrument. There are many companies that make hardware. It's just that to take that hardware and make it do things requires software. And Nvidia's primary wisdom is that they realized very early on, like as in like ludicrously early on, as in the era of ATI, they figured it out that you must do in-house driver development for the systems that you are making. So this stack where the hardware makes love with their properly built drivers was the first genius moment they had. Like they actually did it, and it was not common at that time, back in the very early days, and they really pushed their their brains on this. Like they actually spent time to develop proper software support. The software stack that they have for whole pipeline for their hardware utilization, it's awesome. To give you a context, AMD bought ATI and they still could not crack it. Nvidia, Intel literally has a graphics division, then they made their ARC division, still could not crack it. It's not very difficult, and because Nvidia has been doing it for 30 freaking years, they got it. So that is their biggest advantage. That's why nobody can just like, oh, what if any new company comes in? No, they cannot. Samsung can make it, but they will not be as good as this simply because of this huge software stack. And software stack is just one thing that makes the hardware run, but it also includes developer tools or CUDA cores and things of that nature that you do not think about, but that's the primary reason why Nvidia is the daddy. And then you have to understand, they also have hardware, but they are a fabless company, meaning they go to, basically they pick up a phone either to Samsung or to TSMC. Is like, hey bro, make some parts for us. Of course they have their own fabrication, but that is for mostly prototyping, developing and all that jazz. So this is their two selling point. They have a very good software with a very good hardware, and even if the hardware is not that good, because they have such a good software, they can utilize the hell out of it, and nobody else can do that. To give you a context, AMD is like a meme at this point in time, that they ages like a fine wine. It's like electronic components do not age like a fine wine, they age badly and it takes 1 year after release for AMD to actually reach a point where it's like, okay, now the graphics card is actually utilizing its full horsepower, and they have been doing it for a decade. So it's a very brutal thing to do, it's a hard thing to do. So what they have is graphics processing unit. What does it actually mean? Think in this way, it's massively parallel compute unit. It's like CPU, but instead of having daddy cores that are like big, powerful, can crunch through large numbers of data, it's like, what if we have tiny, cores? Okay, consequence, it's very weak cores. Okay, what's the benefit? Millions of them. Not millions, you get the point, like thousands of them. And yes, there are millions of them in their large units, and that's the whole point. All of them parallel crunching, it's bonkers. So basically GPU is a parallel compute unit, and they can do awesome stuff. And they also build application programming interfaces, meaning how the heck you gonna communicate with that massive parallel array. They are really good at making both of them. They have the hardware and they have a really good tool set that allows that hardware to be utilized. And they have significant lead over everything else. Nobody is even close. Everybody was thinking that Intel should be at least close, given the fact that they have been making GPUs for their iGPU units for, well, forever basically. So they should have been good. It's like, nope, not even close. So that happened. So significant lead, especially in which arena they have the lead? Massive parallel compute complex. This is their jam. And they provide almost 80% of the market. And here's the ironic part, it's not 80% them and somebody else has the 20%. Everybody else has the 20%, meaning everybody is fighting, be it Arc Division, be it I keep forgetting, AMD also has a unique lineup for their Fireball series. They have a unique lineup, again Apple uses them. So they have a lineup for their compute card. Intel has a compute card, Google has a compute card, everybody has their compute cards. They are all fighting in that 20%, and Nvidia is like, I'm the daddy, bro. So this is genuinely mind-bogglingly successful. They had a good GPU unit, which was good, awesome. Then they Tokyo drifted in early 2010s into, hey, compute card is becoming a thing. And then by 2015, people are like, whoa, neural networks, big data. And then the Tokyo drifted perfectly right there. And then they're like printing money. So this is their intellectual property. This is what they bring to the table. So what happened right now? Well, AI rush happened. So you have to understand, in humanities, there are always a era change, switch happens basically. So we had before moon landing, after moon landing. We had before V2, after V2. We had before iPhone, after iPhone. So same thing happened with ChatGPT. ChatGPT is that moment where basically 30 years from now, we're going to look at that ChatGPT was the moment when things change. What does that mean? Things changed. Well, this was the first time for common public AI became a tool that can be used to do stuff for us. Like here's the deal. I've been listening about AI since I was a child in Discovery Channel. Okay, it's an old technology for me. Like I've been hearing about it for so long, it's boring. But here's it. If you would have told me even a few years ago that I, in future, can buy a microcontroller, have no idea how the heck I'm gonna code the microcontroller, plug it in, literally ask a AI, hey, I want this thing to happen. These are the pin numbers. Can you do it? And it gives a code. I upload it. Code works. And if it does not work, I give it what is the error code. Then it figures it out and then fixes it and uploads it. It happens. It's just a thing that is done. I would have laughed at you. And here's it. Everybody would have done that. But after ChatGPT, people are like, damn, there was an era before ChatGPT. It's like, think about it, it's like how everybody switched. We had internet, we had AIs in our phones, Siri and Google and, Alexa, we had it. But this AI, ChatGPT, changed it. ChatGPT went from barely a thing to actually a tool that can do things for us. So that was the biggest wow moment. So everybody is in rush to make the next big thing, meaning how iPhone made the first smartphone, everybody worked their ass off to make the next best big thing. Same thing is happening right now. And so neural network, everybody wants to make larger neural networks, because here's the deal. Making better neural networks means you have to understand how the heck it works. We are kind of sloppy at that part. And again, how would you know that you're new? Because again, it's not like ChatGPT is like, here's our working principle of it. It's like very sloppy data that they transfer, even though they are open. Very sloppy, very opaque, so to say. So the next best thing is like, okay, they are running on 10,000 GPUs. Let's put 20,000. That will give us a fighting chance. So they want even larger neural networks that needs even more powerful compute for it, meaning more GPUs are going. Basically, they are reaching a point of what we call selling shovels in the gold rush. Basically, there is a very actual mathematical reality is that during gold rush, most would-be miners lost money, right? Hundreds of people went in and only few people made money. But here's it, enough people did make money. That's why it was called a rush. If it was like everybody who went in, everybody lost money, there would not have been a rush. But enough people made money that it was like a never-ending input, like, how Vegas. Sometimes house has to lose. Otherwise, people will just like, hey, nobody has won here for 50 years. Nobody will come. So miners were like risking it. But who was like guaranteed to win? It was very simple. The people who were selling them shovels, tents, blue jeans, Levi's straws, and those were making absolute profit. So this guy say, here's my shovels. Big ass $1 million shovels. Go YOLO on AI. I love somebody made this in Reddit. This is awesome. When everyone digs for gold, you sell shovel. So it works. Now here's the same thing happens in India's education system, where we have every Tom, Dick and Harry fighting for IIT, NEET. These are exams that you have to clear. So people, who make the most money, the people who cleared the exam, they make some money. You know who's printing money? Coaching center. Oh, you want IIT? I do not care whether you succeed or fail. I still make money. So that's the same thing. It's like selling the shovel. That's why they are printing money right now. So what kind about of scope we are looking at? Like, is it like really sustainable or not? Well, here's the, it's almost same. AI is overvalued at this point in time, exactly like a common boom and bust cycle. It's a normal thing. It happens with everything. Back in the old days, oh damn, I'm old. 15 years ago, Indian government did change some regulation change, and people went YOLO. There were mobile companies popping up like there is no tomorrow. I cannot even recall few of them anymore. There was like BSNL, the government one. Then there was Tata Docomo, Vodafone, Hutch, and Airtel, Idea, Vodafone. There were many big ones, national level coverage, big ones. But here's the deal, that was the peak period. And then most of them started to collapse, and then they reached a trough period where we technically only had one company, Jio, at that point in time. Then 2-3 companies like combined, like Vodafone and Idea made a baby together called VI. So that happens. You had overvalued, too many players come in, most of them die out, then it starts to equalize. Same thing is happening with AI. Right now we have boatload of people making AI. Will majority of them survive? Hell no. It's the same thing with dot-com bubble. It's the same thing with smartphone market. Everything goes through this, where you have overvaluation, everybody jumps in, and then it goes to like, okay, it's not that big, then it crashes, then it goes to a new equilibrium. So this is a normal cycle. Do not panic about it. The same thing is happening after SpaceX. Once a first company became like, hey, we can actually make a space rocket. Every company is like, we're going to make space rocket. The Rocket Lab became successful. Then everybody is like, we're going to make small satellite launch vehicle. It's like, there is not enough demand. It's like there is not that much demand, so you can saturate all of it. But again, too many companies are making it. Most of them are failing, going bankrupt. Trough period happens, then it reaches. So it's normal. Do not freak out about it, or it's not like, oh, this is normal. This is like cyclical. This is almost like, how you have summer and winter. Yes, do not even think about it. It's normal. Now, what does that mean? That simply means at this point in time, over time, Nvidia is going to have a good and stable income. Now, would they be on top here? That is not likely, but they will have a good and stable income source. And what are the primary competition for them? Well, competition is heating up because of this period, and we do not know whether we are here or here. We are rising or we are like already reached the top. There is a lot of competition, because here's still companies do not like the idea of giving millions of dollars or billions of dollars to other companies. For example, if Microsoft is like, hey, we literally hired the best people, we literally gave GG amount of supercomputer cluster power just to make an AI, which became a big thing. Why the heck we are paying boatload of money to, boatload of money in a truckload of trucks into Nvidia? What if we made our own chip? This is their own chip. They are working there as well. Now, here's the, let this be very clear. It does not need to be as good as Nvidia. It just needs to be good enough. And you and I do not know what is that good enough, because again, there are accountants whose job it is to figure out whether it is good enough or not. And if they control the stack, that itself may give them the advantage, where it's like, hey, we get it, it's not as good, but you control every part of the stack. They're like, shut up, take money. companies do that. There are many scenarios where you do not want to have any external reliability. Like look into weapons protocol systems, like how thorough they are, like supply chain wise. So same things goes with AI companies. If they're like, hey, we are making the best AI, why we are dependent on the architectures that are being built by other company? Many times even an inferior architecture which you control to 100% would be desirable. So Microsoft Azure is building their own puppy. Same with goes with Amazon. Amazon has Amazon Web Services literally running half of the planet. They're like, what if instead of paying money to other companies like be it Intel, be it AMD, be it Nvidia, what if made our own silicon? They have their own silicon, and there are other companies that are also making their own silicon. Be mindful, none of these has to be able to beat Nvidia. They just have to be good enough. And if 10-20 people will try, I will guarantee you 2 or 3 will come very close, like close, like very close. So there are scopes, but there is no scenario where they retain this, like, godhood for too long, because again, that's the peak part. It's gonna go through to the tough part. So what can we expect in the future? Here's the deal. It can't stay in the top forever because it's not a company that is built for that. About, like, oh, people who are selling shovels, they made a lot of profit. That's true, but here's the deal. They did not make that much. And same goes with everything. If they can go into the top firm, they cannot stay in that top spot. And here's the tool only is sold if whatever the cost of the tool, let's say this is ASML's ultra UV tool that is used to make silicon. Okay, awesome, cool. But here's, this cost a boatload of money, like bonkersly large amount of money. Okay, you bought it, but here's the deal, why? That fundamentally means you are expecting to make more money than this. So let's say this cost X, you are expecting 100X out of it. Otherwise, you will not buy it. Like I bought this camera like when I was in job it's like 2 years of my saving went into this. But this asset is one of the best asset I had because this started this whole YouTube channel and literally allowed me to change career. So same point. Why did I buy this? Because again, I expected some returns. Look into the price of trucks. Trucks are expensive. But then why do people buy it? Because again, they expect to pay it back. Same goes here. A tool cost must be reasonable. Now what does that mean? That simply means if you're buying this tool, you should be able to make more money than this. Otherwise nobody will buy it. So there are many companies that are working their ass off, be it Microsoft, be it Google, be it Meta, whatever have you. They are making their own AI tools that will make them more money. Now again, we do not know which one will be the successor, but there will be one that would be the successor. Again, dot-com bubble did not destroy the internet. It just trimmed out the herd. So again, Nvidia could make their own AI, but I have not seen that they could. Like again, could as in like they could of course make it. It's just that would it be as good as, let's say, ChatGPT? I do not know. So again, unless they do that, there is no scenario where they can stay in the top for very long. Short duration, absolutely. I can easily see it for 1 year or 2 years. But over time, there's gonna calm down. The summer will pass, winter is here. That will happen. And it's the same thing that happens to all other tool providers. For example, look into Samsung. Now, the primary reason why Samsung mobile phone is not kicking ass simply because their product manager has loose motion. But you take iPhone, right? Multi-trillion-dollar company. Awesome. GG. You open iPhone. What do you see? Samsung's OLED. What do you see? Samsung's RAM chips. Sometimes even Samsung's memory chip. So how the heck that happened? Here's the deal. This is normal. You look into Foxconn. There was a time Foxconn was like going lol because they are like, they are providing services for all other companies. They are providing services for Apple. It's like people don't even know that there are other companies that are customer for Foxconn. But here's the deal. Do you know about Foxconn? Like, do you see it in the charts? No. Same thing about tool providers never grow as big as the actual product. Products is big, like ASML. Do you see that in multi-trillion valuation? Same thing. If you want to reach that sort of top, the king, you have to touch people directly. Like people know Apple. People do not know, oh, I'm looking into Apple hardware that has display made by Samsung. They do not know, nor they care. They are like, Apple stamp me buy. Same thing with the ASML. You do not buy, oh, I'm buying ASML GPU. I'm buying Nvidia GPU. I'm getting that Nvidia stamp. So, yes, deal. And more people are reaching a point where it's like, hey, I am buying Microsoft Azure services, ChatGPT. Is it running on an Nvidia hardware? I do not care. Is it running on their own dedicated hardware? I do not care. So same thing. Tool providers generally go through this. It's quite normal. Be it Foxconn, be it IBM, be it Samsung, be it TSMC, or be it Cisco. There was a point where there was a frenzy about intercoms. Basically, once we figured out that we can communicate with two computers, they're like, this is the future. Is it that true? Absolutely true. How do you think that we can run these ludicrously large complex neural networks? Again, you run on networks. But here's the deal. Why the heck network providers are not rich? And network provider is in the people who are making the actual switches, photonic switches that are like freaking capable of dealing with hundreds of gigabits per second. So that happens. It's a normal thing to happen. It's a normal thing you must understand. So do I see them in a very healthy future where they have a lot of money? Absolutely. Do I see them a future where they are at the top? Unlikely, unless they make their own AI, and which is to be same oomph point as a chat GPT. So future is going to be interesting. So this was my presentation on basically the cycle that we are going through, hope or hype. Hopefully you have liked it, learned from it. In that case, please click the like button, share it amongst your friends. That will help me a lot. If you didn't like it, didn't enjoy it, I urge you to press dislike, press it twice to show me disappointment. Please leave a comment because I do try to reply to all of them. Subscribe, press the bell icon if you're free, and as always, thanks for watching.